Welcome to The Explainer. I'm so glad you're joining me today. We're diving into something that is honestly wildly misunderstood. We're going to unpack the deep, incredibly complex survival psychology behind why people make that ultimate decision to completely cut contact with their own families.
You've heard it a million times, right? Blood is thicker than water. It's this massive societal expectation, literally drilled into our heads from the very moment we are born. We're taught that family is everything, and family is forever.
But if that is an absolute truth, then we really have to ask a tough question. Why are more and more people just running away? And I don't mean staying mad for a few weeks after a holiday argument. I mean completely disappearing. No birthdays, no Thanksgivings, no weddings, no funerals. Leaving behind nothing but silence.
Okay, let's map out the anatomy of an explosion. Today we're covering the myth of sudden departure, the volcano effect, the 4 tragic family roles, the trauma bonding trap, and finally, healing and chosen family.
Section 1. The myth of sudden departure.
When an adult child finally packs their bags, blocks the phone numbers, and walks out the door, the parents almost always react with total shock. They'll claim it was just some impulsive reaction to a minor, meaningless fight. And from the outside, outsiders just see this picture-perfect illusion, beautiful Facebook photos and fun weekend parties. But behind closed doors, the departure is rarely sudden. It's actually the result of years of emotional manipulation, quiet control, and this invisible pressure that has been slowly suffocating them.
Section 2. Understanding the volcano effect.
In psychology, we call this the volcano effect. It's a gradual buildup of invisible pressure over decades. Think about it. A volcano eruption only looks sudden to the tourists standing at the bottom of the mountain snapping pictures, the people who completely ignored all that deep rumbling underground. Lava doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It heats up, builds pressure, and gets trapped under massive force for years. When the mountain finally explodes, the trigger might be one tiny shake, but it's really just the final drop that makes the cup overflow. Family estrangement works the exact same way.
So what is that underground rumbling made of? Well, it's made of micro-traumas. These aren't necessarily massive, shocking events. They are invisible scratches that happen again and again. It's the sarcastic joke at Sunday dinner about you living off your parents. It's the gaslighting, being told you're just way too sensitive, or that a hurtful event literally never happened. It's the constant pushing of boundaries, like a mom rearranging your closet without asking, or a dad calling 5 times a day while you're at work and demanding answers. One sarcastic comment won't destroy you, but 10,000 of them over 20 years, that will physically change the structure of your brain. It actually enlarges your amygdala, which is your fear center. Your body gets trapped in a chronic fight-or-flight state. Your stomach twists just seeing a text from your mom. You might literally sit in your garage for 15 minutes doing breathing exercises just to gather the courage to walk inside the house. Eventually, the nervous system gets completely overloaded. Cutting contact isn't some cruel punishment. It's an automatic circuit breaker to save your rationality.
Section 3. The 4 tragic family roles. Now, what's really interesting here is Carl Jung's concept of the persona, the social mask we all wear. In healthy families, you can take that mask off, but in toxic families, you are assigned a mask from birth. First up is the golden child. This kid is the parent's American dream. They're the star athlete or the straight-A student. Parents carry them around like a literal golden trophy to show off to their coworkers. But the pressure is absolutely brutal. This child learns very early on that they only receive conditional love. They only have value when they win, so they end up sacrificing their own mental health and their authentic desires, often chasing high-stress careers they secretly hate, like becoming a lawyer, just to keep their parents' perfect illusion alive. Second, we have the scapegoat. Whenever a toxic family system has a conflict it can't actually solve, it needs an emotional trash can to dump its anger into. Enter the scapegoat. This is often the child with a slightly different personality, maybe the artistic one in a family of engineers, or just the most sensitive kid. Ironically, the scapegoat is usually the one who sees the family's toxicity the absolute clearest. They are usually the ones brave enough to go to therapy and point out the unreasonable behavior. But because they dare to speak the truth, they become a permanent thorn in the dysfunctional system's side. The third role is the lost child. To survive in a suffocating home full of screaming matches, this child just chooses to become completely invisible. They hide in their room playing video games, they never ask for toys, and they never make a peep. They figure out that the less attention they draw, the safer they are. But tragically, they grow into completely isolated adults who carry this deep-seated belief that their mere existence is somehow a burden to other people. Finally, we have the parentified child. This happens when parents are just deeply emotionally immature. Imagine a mother telling her 12-year-old daughter, you're my best friend, and then dumping heavy adult confessions onto her, complaining about a failed marriage or severe money worries. This child is completely robbed of a childhood. They tragically learn that love just means constantly rescuing other people and carrying weights they were never built to hold.
Honestly, no matter which of these roles a child is forced into, the price is always losing yourself. And the very moment you decide to tear up that script and refuse to play the part, the toxic system reacts violently. Because cutting off contact is not just the act of leaving your family, it is the formal act of resigning from a role that has been slowly killing your soul.
Section 4. The trauma bonding trap.
You might be sitting there asking, why on earth do people endure decades of this pain before finally leaving? Well, it comes down to a highly destructive psychological force, trauma bonding. See, toxic families are rarely toxic 100% of the time. If they were always cruel, walking away would be easy, but they are inconsistent. Step 1, you experience manipulation and your brain releases cortisol, the stress hormone. But then comes step 2, sudden affection. You have a massive fight, but the next morning your mom acts like nothing happened and bakes your favorite cake, or your dad buys you an expensive gift. That floods your brain with dopamine. This brilliantly illustrates the random reward mechanism. It's the exact same psychology that makes casino slot machines so wildly addictive. You get stuck in a loop of step 3, false hope. You just keep lowering your bucket into an empty well, thinking that if you just try harder, make more money, or buy them a house, you'll finally scoop up a tiny drop of unconditional love. People only leave when they realize the well has no water.
It's also vital to look at the wider context here, just so we don't drown in pure resentment. We have to talk about intergenerational trauma. Your grandparents likely lived through World War II or the Great Depression. Their only priority was pure survival. They passed this really harsh, pull-yourself-up-by-your-bootstraps survival mindset right down to your parents. And your parents' generation, they grew up in a society that had absolutely zero language for mental health, boundaries, or inner-child healing. To them, providing a roof and paying for tuition meant they completely did their job. They just lacked the tools to connect emotionally, and without meaning to, they bled their own empty, ruined inner spaces right onto you. Now, understanding this is definitely not an excuse for emotional abuse, but it does help remove the monster label from them.
Section 5. Healing and chosen family.
When someone actually walks out that door, a massive inner civil war begins. It's your biological instinct to belong clashing right against your survival instinct to protect your sense of self. A huge part of this aftermath is what psychologists call ambiguous loss. In society, when someone passes away, we have clear rituals, funerals, flowers, condolences. But when you cut off someone who is still walking around, there is no ritual. You are grieving two things at the exact same time: the shattered reality of the relationship and the death of your hope for an ideal parent. You'll walk into Target around the holidays, see a best mom ever mug, and a wave of guilt will just absolutely crush your chest. You'll think, maybe I overreacted. But remember, your nervous system was conditioned for chaos. So peace, it's going to feel very wrong at first. That guilt doesn't mean you made a mistake. It simply proves that you have compassion.
So, the crucial point is this. Imagine walking down the street and a family member accidentally hits you with their car, breaking your leg. If you just lie there screaming for that unqualified driver to perform surgery on you, your leg is going to rot. They clearly don't have the skills. Healing is a personal responsibility. You have to drag yourself to the doctor and accept the pain of a cast. The exact same goes for your soul. You have to become the ideal parent to your own inner child. Comfort yourself and allow yourself to do the things you were never allowed to do. Go travel alone, buy a fun toy, or just sleep in all day without an ounce of guilt.
And as you do that, you begin to build your chosen family. Because friends really are the family we choose for ourselves. DNA might build the body, but empathy builds the soul. You discover that family can be a partner who actually respects your boundaries, or friends who listen to you vent without judging. They love you, not out of some heavy social pressure or obligation, but because they actually see the light inside of you. Which leaves us with one final, incredibly powerful question. Will you choose to break the cycle? Listen, walking away is not an act of punishment. It is a historic declaration of survival. It's a decision that not only saves you, but protects the very next generation from carrying the ghosts of the past. Walking away means you refuse to betray yourself anymore. Welcome to